Have you been wondering what's going on in the property market? Why are house prices going up when we're in a double-dip recession? Hi everyone, welcome back to Infinity Wealth. Dr. Marttand Patel here. I'm going to help you answer those questions and what are the opportunities arising now and going 6 months and a year forward. Okay, so one of the things that we have to understand about the property market is it's not necessarily the whole thing, it's very area dependent. And you've got to understand your areas in order to actually learn how to invest in those in the upcoming areas and where's the best area. So let's look at the pandemic. Why did house prices go up? Well, there is a simple answer to this. During the pandemic, a lot of houses were taken off the market. So those houses that came off the market because people didn't necessarily want strangers traipsing through their house, or they felt that this is probably not the best time to get the best price for their house, so they would just pull that sale that they wanted to try and do. The other thing was a lot of the house builders, the larger construction companies, had to stop work. They had to down tools because of the coronavirus. Smaller developments still carried on. They followed certain guidelines, but they still carried on, whereas the larger house builders didn't necessarily carry on. So prior to all this, what we had quite a lot of flats being developed both in Manchester, Liverpool, London. So we already had a large number of developments of flats waiting to actually find buyers for them. Okay, so we had a situation where we had quite a lot of supply in flats, but a low supply in housing. Okay, so what happened? Okay, well, interest rates were reduced. When interest rates were reduced, it created a pent-up demand from people wanting to purchase property. We had a supply imbalance because price is determined by supply and demand. So we had an undersupply because a lot of houses had been taken off the market and developments had been put on hold and house builders weren't building as many houses. So we had a greater rise in people looking, but a fall in the actual overall supply. So what caused this was to actually increase house prices. So you found house prices increasing in certain areas. This is the main factor on why house prices have been increasing. Now, let's take a step forward and say, okay, well, how can we take advantage of this? How can we protect ourselves? Because above all, that's what we want to do. We want to try and protect ourselves. Okay, so how can we protect ourselves? First of all, we have to understand our area. Our area will determine, and two areas are not necessarily the same, especially up north, where you've got areas where are quite deprived and areas where they're quite affluent. So it can vary from street to street in some areas, in some certain cities as well. So you've got to know your area. Above all, know your area. So when is this going to all change? That's probably what you're asking, going, well, I'm looking to buy, but when should I buy? Well, I'll come to that towards the end of the video, and I'll explain to you how to find the best area. But before I go on to the next section, what I'd like you to do is support our channel. If you're enjoying the content that I'm giving you, please subscribe, hit the notification icon, and that way we can be picked up from our algorithms. Okay, so going back to what's going on. Right, so what we're going to find is that in the UK and also around other parts of the world, they have increased now the mortgage holiday. The mortgage holiday scheme was coming to an end, but now they've increased it until next year. So that means that those people that were behind their mortgage payments or were in financial difficulty, now they can still carry on living in those houses without the fear of being booted out by the mortgage companies. So there is now a rising amount of delinquencies, as the Americans would say, or not making the repayments for the mortgages at the moment going on. Okay, so at some stage, that stock that's in that market that's held away from the overall supply at the moment. The overall supply is low because it's been the lowest since the last 30 years as we understand it. Now, everywhere in the world, we're not building enough houses. We knew that before, which is why, as property investors, we noted that and thought, okay, so it's a good time to invest in property. So looking at that, knowing that there is going to be an influx of new properties coming onto the market later on. Once the furlough scheme and all the mortgage repayment holiday schemes go to one side, those people, unfortunately, who are in a situation where they've lost their jobs or they're still being on furlough, now that furlough scheme and all the other schemes that the government have helped to provide are going to be quite difficult. So there is going to be that situation where then people will be forced to sell. If you look at what's going on in the overall, what the government are doing, so the government have actually introduced, or talking about capital gains, adjusting the capital gains, so making it a higher capital gains taxation for landlords or people with second homes, so that they can claw back some of the loans that they've given out during the furlough and everything else, because we spent a lot of money at the end of the day and we need to learn how to recoup that. So Richie Sunak, in his wisdom, thinks that he should actually tax this. Not quite sure, but there is a lot of talk in the market that this will be happening. So that's going to force more landlords perhaps to actually sell their properties as well. So looking forward. Now, the other thing that to bear in mind is with all the things that have been going on where you could not evict a person for a certain length of time, maybe 6 months, that process may come back again, where although landlords have already started the eviction process because they had to put that on hold because a lot of tenants took advantage. Unfortunately, a lot of tenants took advantage. Some of these landlords could be new landlords or landlords who have been overstretched prior and will be forced to sell their properties. As I explained to you, it's all about supply and demand. So if supply starts to increase and demand begins to wane now, the reason why it's waning is because less people are now confident, because all this is a confidence trick that the government has helped to actually bow up confidence within the economy. But, at some stage, that imbalance has to come into play. Now, when that comes into play, obviously, the amount of supply will begin to rise. When it begins to rise, there will be certain areas that will suffer more. So as property investors, and to help you going forward, and what to look for, what areas to look for, because at the end of the day, we want to try and pick up the best deal possible. You really have to look at repossession rates in the areas that you're looking at. First and foremost, you have to become an expert in the area that you're looking at. Wherever it is, become an expert in that area. Investigate what house prices have been doing over the last 6 years, 2 years, so you know and you're familiar with house prices and what they should fetch. Okay. The next thing is look at repossessions. Are repossessions going to be rising in that area? Now, it's too early for that to occur right now. But once all these schemes go to one side, they will be happening. So look at repossessions in your area. And if you are interested in finding out how to do that, I can try and help you. Please, make a few comments on the section below. There are various websites that you can actually locate that information. So find out what the repossession rates are in your area and what is the delinquency. So, how many people are not paying their mortgages in those areas? Identifying those areas will really help you. The reason why it will help you is because those sort of areas is going to have a larger influx of property coming onto the market. Larger number of properties coming onto the market will suppress the property market at that time. So what you need to look for, the ideal candidate would be an area where there is rising unemployment, but 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, there is going to be a new manufacturer or perhaps a factory that's coming to that area that's going to create job creation. Those are the areas that you need to say, okay, I know that I'm going to take a little bit of a downside, but I can try and find my BMV deals in that area because employment will go up in that area. So are there any schemes where there's a regeneration, introducing new industries into the area? That's what you need to be looking at. Okay, that helps you pinpoint the area that you should be targeting during this time. During lockdown, don't waste lockdown. Utilize lockdown to actually educate yourself and learn far more. Okay, so that's one of the things. The other thing that has been going on, we called it the Great Migration. Now, this has been going on for a number of years. I've got a property portfolio scattered all around. One of the things I was noticing was that more and more people, Londoners, were selling up in London and moving further afield. Bedford, Northampton, anything that was a commutable distance to London. The reason why they were doing this over the last 2-3 years was because all of a sudden their houses in Hackney and in inner city London all of a sudden shot up from very low values to over £1 million. These guys had very low mortgages. So at the end of the day, they thought, hey, why don't I sell my house and I can live on the money that I've generated from the house? So I know lots of people, I've met lots of people who, when I've been doing my viewings, that's the reason why they moved out of London. But there's another reason that's accelerated that now as well. With the pandemic, now the Great Migration has started. What you'll find is that families are now beginning to say, well, actually, I don't want to necessarily live in a flat, or I don't want to live in a confined area. I want to live in Greater London. Greater London house prices have been increasing. The main reason why they've been increasing is because families want to move away from London and be able to enjoy the countryside or have more outdoor space, but still have commutable distance. The other thing that's been changing is work from home. Now, work from home changed all these dynamics. You know, people actually said, well, actually, I don't need to be in London. I could be anywhere and I still get paid a reasonable wage. So they are saying, okay, to their employer, well, I can come down once a week. I can live wherever I want. I could buy a mansion for the money I'm saving from selling my London home somewhere else in the home counties. So that is the Great Migration. And I think we'll see that carrying on. I think that's something that is going to go forward. So on the development side, these are the areas that you need to be targeting. Areas that have good commuter links, as we did before, but bringing something else into the mix. When you're a developer, think about a home office, because that's going to be important. Think about fast internet communications as well within your development. These are all going to be very, very important. Your house now has to be IT, right? Think about IT. This is where we're going to go forward. We're going to go forward because more and more people are going to demand these from the houses. So as a developer, if you've already put these things into place, great. You know, you're more likely to sell the house. Those are the things that you have to be watching right now. And I hope that this video has brought to light on what you should be doing. So should you be buying right now? Should you be going out and buying a property? Well, that depends. Why it depends is because if you are an investor who has a lot of money at the end of the day, and that money is burning a hole in your pocket, but you found a property that will give you a good return, then there's nothing stopping you, because you've got a long-term horizon to actually say, well, you know, I've got this money in the bank account, it's not giving me a great return, but I'm going to buy this because the cash flow is very good. It's all dependent on cash flow and how comfortable you feel with that property giving you that cash flow. If you're a homeowner looking to move, well, you shouldn't really base it on that. What you should be basing it on is what is happening. You know, a home is your home at the end of the day. There are some people that move houses, like I did, and develop houses and then sell them on and then move the next one. Yeah, going up the ladder. So you could do that as well. Okay, so that's one of the ways of doing it. But above all, do your research, do your homework. If you'd like this video, please, as I said, don't forget to press the thumbs up button. subscribe to our channel and press the notification bell. Until next week, have a great weekend, and to all my Asian friends out there, have a great Diwali, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Oh, forgot to mention, also midweek, we're now doing a special update every week. On a Wednesday, it'll be either me or Kiki or both of us about stocks and shares. The weekends will be only property related. So that differentiates everything. But please subscribe to our channel. We are new. We need your support. We love you all. Take care, guys, and speak to you soon. Bye.